So how to start a food forest the easy way. Today I'm going to show you how to start a food forest in one day, and I'm going to tell you everything that I've learned over the last 7 years, and I'm going to tell you all the things that you shouldn't do. So every year 99,000 new projects, food forest projects, get started in the world, and it's completely not a stat that I've made up. It's completely, definitely 100% not one that I've pulled out of my hat right now. But 99% of those ones never see the light of day, because 99% of those ones never exits the planning phase. So they get started, but they only get started in people's heads. And just quickly want to grab these guys. Wait on it. These are some chicken food. And so people plan 10 forests a day, but they never get through, and they never get started, and they never have anything concrete to show. Not even a tree in the ground, nothing. And the main reason I believe of that is because of the first two things you should consider when planning a food forest. And that is, how much money have you got? And how much time have you got? If you don't have money, it doesn't help. Sorry, I'm just climbing through the fence here. It doesn't help that you plan a 1,000-hectare project. It's never going to leave the paper, and you're only going to feel better about yourself, but you're not going to leave the world in a better place. And if you don't have time, doesn't matter how much money you have, you're not going to be able to do that. So the one that I want to show you today is one that we're going to do with no money and no time. Just want to give these guys some worms. They've had quite a bit today already. So we're going to start a food forest with no money and no time. So a lot of the things that I say in this video is controversial, and if you would love to comment, I would really love to open a conversation and speak to you and continue the conversation. And if you have nothing to comment, just comment at the amount of followers that you see. I have 375 as I'm filming this, and so that would really help me out a lot. And if you subscribe, that would be fantastic. Anyway, so as I was saying about the time and money, two other things that I want to mention about time and money is, if you have more money and more time than zero, then obviously you want to plan a little bit longer, and you want to spend more money, and you want to build a better food forest. But I would still love to challenge you to go through the one-day food forest thing that we are doing right here, and to start building your own food forest. The problem is that a lot of people have got analysis paralysis, so they spend years and years watching videos and learning. And I don't want to say that knowledge is the downfall of permaculture, but I want to say that lack of action, lack of putting that knowledge into practice is definitely one of my biggest downfalls, was definitely one of the biggest things holding me back. And it was only when I decided, stuff it, my permaculture dreams are not going to come to a reality if I don't start doing them, and I need to take serious action, that I actually made some progress. I made more progress in the last 4 months than I made in the 7 years before that. And the only reason for that is I decided, listen, if I only watched the first Jeff Lawton video on how to make a food forest, and I started spending, instead of spending 7,000 hours watching YouTube videos and learning every single thing there is about permaculture and everything there is about food forest, and learning everybody's names and everybody's family's names, and the name of all the farms, and I spend those hours actually doing the permaculture instead of learning about permaculture, I would have gone a lot faster. And there's a story about a art teacher that tells his students, listen, for this quarter I want one group of you to do a art project every day, and then the other group he told, I want you to do one perfect project. And then at the end of the quarter they measured the arts artworks of the students, and as you can guess, the ones that did an art project every day actually delivered much higher quality of work than the students that was asked to do only one project but to make it perfect. So perfection is the enemy of progress. So if you have more time and more money, I would like to challenge you to do this one day food forest. And then if you in your planning stage, I would like you to add a deadline. If I added a deadline in my planning on, listen, this is when I'm going to stop planning and this is when I'm going to start doing, I would have gone a lot further. So adding a deadline on when the planning stops will definitely help you with that getting you out of that rut of doing those things, and just to start. So a tree can be seen as a element in your food forest, and then every single thing around it is an element. And I think it was Jeff Lawton that says you're sort of the director of the orchestra, and you direct nature and you direct the way these elements play together. So this is an element that we add with the tree. And let's talk about, once you've decided now how much money you've got, how much time you've got, now you have to decide where it is. And so what we've decided is this is an area that we can protect. There's thorn trees around, and we decided it needs to be close to water. There's a tap there, and it's on a slight angle, so it's possible for us to add water via the rain. So we now we've decided our location, and then after we decide our location, we have to decide what we're going to put in. And so this is a mulberry tree, and the reason we decided it's a friendly tree. I like the idea of friendly trees for my children. And then for ground covers, we're going to add some tomatoes and some what do you call these things in English? Some squash, butternuts. Okay, so then after you've decided what you're going to put in, now you've got an element, and on an element you have to decide what is the needs. And the need of this tree is it needs water. So for us to, one of the first needs is it needs water. So we decided to put in this little berm. And so these things can be done either with a level, or if you have a slight angle like this, then it can just be done with your normal common sense. You don't have to use a level. With the amount of water we catch, this basin will most likely never fill up. If it does fill up, it will slightly run over on this side, and it's a little bit higher on that side, and so it's not the end of the world. It's not going to wash away. If you have a fear of it washing away, use a level, make the exits completely level with one another. Do it like that. Okay, so we decided it needs water, and it's a thing that I missed in my dry land permaculture in the beginning. I didn't think about the irrigation part, and so I planted many trees on this huge trail, had rain, planted them, everything was fantastic. Then the winter came, no rain, and then I realized I have to sort of water them twice a week, and so that took hours out of my day. So planting close to irrigation is a main thing for us, because we need to irrigate during the winter, at least for the first couple of seasons, until the water bubble below this thing is big enough to feed the tree and the roots are deep enough. But for the first 2 or 3 seasons it will need water. Right, then the second thing it needs is sunshine. I don't know if you can see, but we have plenty of that. Okay, so that's not going to be an issue. Third thing it needs is food, and so we are adding this is compost. So we're going to feed it compost. We are bringing wheelbarrows and wheelbarrows of compost in. We are going to plant some legumes around it, and so the legumes help for chop and drop. It can be either a leguminous ground cover, in our case Lucina, which is a tree that we've planted here a couple of 2 weeks ago. Lucina is a lucerne tree or a white ironwood. I don't know if you can see that. Lucina is quite a popular permaculture tree, so we'll use it. We planted them there, and we'll chop and drop, and we'll drop them around the fruit trees here. And then we have grass coming out of the stables, and we will add lots and lots of old hay as mulch around it to keep the water in and to increase soil activity and to increase the soil food web. So lots and lots of mulch, and that's one of the ways to feed it. Gooi sommer daar binne hoor. So they say the best way to predict the future is to create it. And this is what we've done here today. This is the smallest version of a food forest that you can get. There's a tree that is above ground. There's a K-apple that is a normal thing. We planted some beetroots for the layer below ground. We planted some squash for the herbaceous layer. And so this is the smallest version of a food forest that you can get. And then you can scale it with the one next door. And then you can scale it with the one next door. And you can scale it with the one next door. We are adding the branches for protection against goats and other small animals. And we've mulched the living daylights out of this place. This is old hay that the horses have urinated on. And the mulch serves as a couple of things. It serves to protect the soil from blowing away in the wind. It feeds the soil by creating a food soil web and creating nutrients for the soil. And then it waters the soil, because when it rains, it slows down the runoff, infiltrates the water better, and then it also stops evaporation or reduces evaporation drastically. So if there's one thing that I want you to take away from today, is that you can do it. You can predict the future, you can change the world, even if it's one small step at a time. And I want you to gently plant your finger on that subscribe button, and I would really love it if you go out and plant some life, add some sort of tree, some first step. Get your first step in on your food forest, get your first step in on whatever your permaculture plans are. And so that is the end of my story. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching up until this point.